we'll take our last commercial break. But I do want to explain why I'm not going to run the last cartoon.
But I brought this cartoon especially for you.
I know. You asked me. I asked you for it, and you delivered
you wanted
it.
something, and I said, "How about a Terry tune?"
Yeah,
that has never been shown on television.
And the reason is, and it's a very well done, well drawn, well animated, well scored. It's one of the better Terry tunes. The problem is that it makes All This in Rabbit Stew and Cold Black and the Seven Dwarfs look like an episode of the Andy Griffith Show. It is, without question, the most stereotypical black exploitation cartoon that I have ever seen. And, you know, I have always maintained that as a television historian and as somebody who wants to preserve this kind of stuff, we can't ignore this. You know, we've come a long way from those days. But it was a product of its time. And for historical purposes, it needs to be out there. It needs to be shown, right or wrong. It needs to be discussed. And what we've learned as a culture and as a country since those days. You have to remember, 1941, when this cartoon was produced, there was no harm in doing this kind of cartoon. The studios did it all the time. Yeah, there were a few voices of complaint about it, but not to the extent that we have today, because we've matured as a country, we've matured as a people. And so this was, for me, how can I put this? This was for me to just show that we are mature enough to look at something like this as connoisseurs of a gone day and of a gone style of animation. And that's all my purpose was, to show this. It was just to be a product of its time. Then we had the unfortunate instance in Charlottesville over the weekend, which was compounded by the fucking moron who is supposedly running our country now, going on the air and actually condoning, without saying condoning, but equating it to those who are against bigotry and hatred and violence, like most of us, anybody with a brain are, except for these, you know, these neo-Nazi white trash assholes that think it's their country, and, you know, it's not Make America Great Again, it's Make America White Again. And that's not what, contrary to what a lot of those people think, that's not what the founding fathers of this country had intended. Yes, I don't want to hear about the slavery. I know about all of that, and I know that was all bad. But again, that's part of the maturing of this country. And I was all set to run this cartoon just to show that we are above that, and we can look at something as a product of its time, and we can appreciate the animation and the culture and the music, and the way it was. And I don't like the PC police. I am a liberal, but I think they go too far sometimes in some of the things that they say and some of the things they do. I mean, we're way over the top, too sensitive about this stuff. It all depends upon the context that something is being used. And so I wrestled with this for I didn't wrestle with it until this idiot gave this press conference the other day. And then I was talking to some of my friends on Facebook about this whole thing today, whether or not we should do this. And my feeling was, you know, I don't want the rednecks to win. But on the other hand, I don't want them to say, ha, 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 even the liberal guy is making fun of the black people, because that is not me. I am not a racist. And I am looking this at a totally different perspective than the way that those assholes that were marching in Charlottesville over the weekend look at things. And I went to bed last night thinking, well, okay, I'm going to go ahead and run this cartoon, and I'm going to give my points of view from the historical and the preservation angle. And I went to sleep, and I slept very well, surprisingly. And when I woke up this morning, it was like something hit me in the ass. Not the procedure that I'm going to have next week, but something just hit me that said, you know what? You can't. The timing is not right now. Regardless of how you feel, because of the mayhem this son of a bitch stirred up yesterday, and from the behavior of the last weekend, it's the wrong time to do this. It just became clear. I can't in good faith show this cartoon right now, as good as it is and as well as it was produced. It would make those fucking rednecks think they won. And I've never, ever had to think about that before in terms of preserving this stuff. I see now why the studios are a little reluctant. I mean, this was going to be a fuck you to them too. I was going to say, ha ha ha, I don't have, I don't have my own video company here, and I don't have lawyers who are worried about deep pockets being sued. I can show this. So there was that too. There was, I'm going to show this because I can, and I don't have to have any repercussions. But after the behavior of this person who is running this country and what he said, and again, if you're still supporting this guy, those of you out there still think he's doing a good job, unfriend me on Facebook right now. I've never even said that before because I feel everybody has a say, everybody has a right, First Amendment rights, but not when there's hatred involved, not when there's bigotry, and not when there's people, fucking idiots getting in cars and running over people just because they're Jewish or they're black or whatever. That is not free speech. That is not First Amendment. That's outright hate and bigotry. And I will not support a fucking asshole in the White House who is condoning that at the same time saying we're to blame because we're against all that shit. I'm sorry. I'm done. Jerry, anyway, in good conscience, I can't run that cartoon. Hopefully at Christmas time, things will have calmed down, and maybe we'll get a Christmas present, and that asshole will be out of the White House. But then we got another asshole who'll take his place, but not nearly as bad. I won't have to worry about somebody shooting off their big mouth and getting a bomb from North Korea landing on my doorstep here. But hopefully things will have simmered down, and we can have this discussion again like two civilized people, right. And we can show this cartoon and appreciate it for what it was, a form of art at a time long ago before our culture, matured, and it will be a symbol of a product of its time. Right. These things have to be preserved, Jerry. Right. They have to be preserved. Okay, say your piece and we'll take a break.
I don't have a piece. I just think you made a good point about that. I think showing it now, you're right. I do think they would win in this odd case. I think it's worth holding off. As a teacher, as a historian, I feel kind of what's the right word? But I walk into my class and I feel like I can show them anything because I put it in some kind of context, historical context. This happened. This was part of what we did, what the culture was, and we can't just sweep it under the rug and ignore it. I'm happy to run it and we all talk about it and that's fine. Yeah. So it's funny, if you if the way things are going with these bigots and racists, somebody could think, well, that means Song of the South will get re-released because that'll be the way you know what? That's not the way we want it.
No, that's not going to happen. The studios are liberal like we are. They're not. Yeah. See, this also puts a damper on any future through the studios for any of this stuff. Well, because of what this guy has incited in the last few days, there is no hope for this. So I am absolutely thrilled that Porky Pig set is as unedited as it can possibly be.
Oh yeah, I unfortunately woke up today or yesterday with the thought that if what happened in the last few days happened a year ago, I wouldn't be holding this right now.
Yeah.
Because they would not let this stuff out.
And just imagine if you were still working on this now and it wasn't ready for release.
Right.
You don't think the legal department would have put the kibosh immediately on this?
Luckily too late. Way too late.
Yeah.
So
timing is everything, folks. Again, thank you. Thanks to George.
No. Thank you. And thanks.
Fuck you, Mr. President. And we'll take our last commercial break right now, and we'll hear from you. I'm done. I'm toast.